Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Collectors with Cards Drinking Coffee. Today we have probably one of the most important historic guests that I've had in the collecting scene. Really looking forward to talking with this guy. I mean, I think everybody at this point knows who he is. He has one of the most extensive, unique collections and most unique things that have passed through his hands in the history of Pokemon that we're going to get to learn about today. But today we have my good friend TCA Gaming, or Rusty. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. I appreciate all those kind words.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I could probably go on just myself saying all the good things that you've done for this hobby, and I'm hoping to get into some more detail with you. You know, I'm very thankful that you're able to have some time to share all this stuff. I know how incredibly busy you are. Um, I mean, you got one of the largest Pokemon eBay stores. You've got, I'm sure, anybody and everybody reaching out to you asking questions because of the name you've made for yourself. So um, let's dive into Rusty. Let's get to know you a little bit. You know, I've seen some interviews and stuff online so far, but I want to get to know you even deeper. So, um, tell us a little bit about yourself. How old are you?
I'm 20. No, I'm 30. I'm 30 years old.
You're 30 now.
I didn't.
I'm sure I'll be doing the same. I'm a couple years away from 30 myself, and I don't know if that'll ever seem true. I mean, we're still kids at heart playing with Pokemon cards. So,
Yeah.
um, so you're a couple years older than I am. You're out from what, the east side, east southern side. Where are you from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay, I've spent a few summers out on Emerald Isle, Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. That was kind of our destination of choice for the family for our one summer vacation as I was growing up. So I love the Carolinas. That's great. So what was Pokemon like for you back in 1999?
Um, I wasn't there in the very, very beginning. Of maybe around 2000 is kind of when it hit me. Um, I was 10 years old when got my first Pokemon cards. I remember buying them from a guy in a lunchroom at my elementary school. I think it was $5, and I got 10 cards. I saved up forever to get that. I mean, it was 50 cents a card. I didn't realize you could get a booster pack from a store or anything like that. They were all like commons, but I remember Kabuto was probably one of the first ones. But once I got those first few cards, what I loved doing was trading. I loved to get on the bus and just trade with other people, and I was really good at figuring out how to trade stuff to get a better deal out of different things. And eventually, it grew into I had a friend who was older than me that would visit my neighbor. It was her cousin, and he would take his mom would take us to Toys R Us, and we go to Toys R Us, and we had this place called Media Play, and then there was also a local card shop, and we would just hit all three of those places on league days, and try to play and earn badge points and that kind of stuff, and it just really created a lot of those childhood memories for me.
That's awesome. So you were pretty involved with. I mean, I don't know too many people that played the game or even knew how to play the game. You know, at least in our circle of friends, right? You know, a lot of us just made up our own rules or just
Yeah.
collected. So that's cool to see how involved you were. And once we dive into some of the things that you've collected, we'll understand that a little bit more. But was Pokemon like the first thing that kind of got your collecting bug or your got your collecting started? Was there something else that might have kind of started that trade aspect that you love doing?
I've collected a lot of different little things over the years. I remember when I was a kid, I lived at Loman's Motel, and I would go outside and I would walk around in the parking lot, which was dirt, and I would pick up like the little bottle caps that people would throw out from their beers or whatever, and I would keep those. And I remember I had a small collection of bottle caps. I remember I collected coins with my mom. Anytime my dad would come home from work, he would give me the change that he had left over from buying snacks at a vending machine, and I would put it in an old pickle jar, and then eventually I would like sort the dates, and I'd learn more information about like the pennies from 1982. There's like six different or 12. I mean, there's a bunch of different like size variations, and that kind of like fascinated me. I always wanted to just get all the different types, and I think that kind of stuff carried over into Pokemon, which is why I'm always going for like the things that are just a little bit more unique that you might not ever see again.
Right. You know, that's funny. I had Gary on recently, and that was the first thing that he started collecting were these bottle caps that had like football players or football
Oh yeah,
logos on them. So there's I don't know if you knew that, but there's a nice little attachment to Gary that you share with him now. You guys started with bottle caps. Um,
yeah.
I know
I'm
you.
sure his was a lot more extensive than mine. Mine were thrown on the ground at a cheap motel. So
Hey, you work with what you can get. I mean, we know, I know from some other videos you've done that you've came up from very, very humble beginnings, um, and still, are able to continue living very frugally and focused on what really matters in your life, your family. You're a very religious person, if I'm not wrong, and um, I've noticed you said you have a lot of family over today, and that's your main focus. So it's amazing to see where you've come to where you are now and still be the person that you are. Um, we've never met in person, and I mean this is our first face to face interaction, but we've talked frequently, I guess, over the past year or so. I've sold you some things that I wish I still had, but that's you've always been very great to work with, easy to work with on my end, and uh, I've been waiting for the moment that I've gotten to meet with you. So how many events have you ever gone to, Pokemon wise? Because I've never crossed paths with you at Worlds or some of the regionals that I've been to.
really, not many at all. I may have attended some small events when I was a kid and not known it, but I never participated as a kid because, as strange as it might sound, like I did a lot of trading, but I didn't do much buying at all. Like $5 to get into a tournament to play the game, that wasn't going to happen. Like I never went and bought packs at these places. But in my adult trading hood or trading card, like my adulthood, the only event really that I went to was that Hartford Regionals. Where Charlie basically invited me to that, and I was going to attend Worlds the last year when it was in Atlanta or wherever it was, Knoxville.
And, yeah.
Um, just a few years ago. But and I regret not attending that Worlds. But that was it. That's really been the only event. Most of the time, I stay at home. Um, I've never even flown in an airplane. I mean, the few times that I have traveled around the country to get big items, I just drove there.
Oh wow, what's the furthest you drove to go pick up an item?
I haven't went across the Mississippi yet. So I think it was
Okay.
Indiana. There was an old league collection.
Yeah.
I got one out of Arkansas and I got one out of Indiana, and those were really big, like old league collections where it was just a lady who ran a huge league and then just shut everything up and had all their stuff, basically in an old shut down Chinese restaurant.
Huh.
It was an awesome find.
Yeah. I got to ask: is there a little bit of fear in flying, or is it more so you just don't want to spend the money?
I just don't want to wait.
Oh.
I don't
Okay.
want to have to do the layover and all that stuff. I'm just like, I'm going to leave right now, and I'm going to just drive there, and I'm going to get it, and then I'm going to just come back. I won't have to worry about all the packages and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff taking it on the plane, because usually it's big collections when I'm trying to travel somewhere. If I'm going to do something like that,
Hmm.
with the really high end stuff that I ship out, um, most of the time I just take the risk and just insure it for whatever I can, and usually it gets there the next day.
Right. Right. Exactly. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. You're a very efficient person. You just want to get going, and that makes a lot of sense actually. So I want to jump into your business mind here a little bit, with Pokemon. Uh, I don't want to dive too much into what I've already heard, but um, when did you get into Pokemon seriously in your adulthood?
So when I went off to college and I started buying and selling during that time, um, I didn't even have a cell phone when I went off to college, but I got that and an email and eBay basically all at the same time. I remember selling a Ninetales, a PSA 9 Ninetales first edition base set for $90, and I thought to myself, you know what? If I could make one sale like this a day, I could make a living off of it. And when I graduated college, I was already doing it full time in addition to being a student teacher full time. And see, I didn't do like the normal student teaching deal. Like I was teaching like the whole day, the entire all the classes, from day one. It wasn't like a thing where I eased into it. So
Hmm.
I mean, if I told myself if I could do that and work full, time with this eBay stuff and make more money than I'm making, teaching, then I should just do it full time. So I got my license for with teaching, and I took the summer just to figure out, if I could really do it full time and quickly. I mean, within a few weeks, I realized, this job was going to be way better, had more flexibility. I could be my own boss, and it was going to grow quickly. So I just, that's when I hammered down, as soon as I graduated, and that's when it was full time for me.
So that had to be what, like 2012, 2011 ish, 13, something like that. Um,
2012.
so you mentioned a PSA 99 tails. Were you opening packs then? How'd you, what was the
No,
first thing that you caught onto that said, oh, this could be, I could buy and sell? Were you just buying raw cards? Were you buying already graded cards? Were you buying sealed product? What was it?
in the beginning, I would make these it was 15 card lots, guaranteed one EX card. The stuff basically that everyone hates to see. But, I'd auction them off and I'd get $5. And I'm like, I would use that money to finish off my original 3 sets.
Hmm.
And while I do that, sometimes I just shop around for cards like that I would want to add to my collection. But I quickly realized that you could buy a base set Charizard for $10, or you could buy it for $5 and you can sell it for 10.
Hmm.
So I would make a profit of $5, and it was way less work. So that's where the original name, the Charizard Authority, come from, because that's what I started focusing on, just buying base set Charizards. And what I would do is I would buy these. I would be looking at auctions, and I'd see a Charizard in it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy it just for the Charizard. And I'd win it, just for that price. Like, that would pay for the whole thing, but there'd be all these other cards that were with it. I mean, I'm sure you may remember this. Troll and Toad. I mean, they used to have base set hollows for like 20 cents a piece. I mean, it was like stupid low prices. I mean, you could just go in there and just buy 100 Raichus, and you wouldn't spend hardly anything. I mean, you could get Shining Charizards, Crystal Charizards for $10 a piece, and I would just, anytime I could, I'd buy the Charizards and I would focus on that. But all this other stuff come along with it, so I would have this extra time, and I would just try to make whatever I could on that extra stuff. And over time, it just really built up. And I found that promos, were really going to be my bread and butter, because you could find those in huge quantities, mint condition, and it appealed to so many different collectors.
So you had a keen eye kind of right off the bat, and like you said, picking up, realizing you could do this full time in like a 2 month period, basically. You went all
Yeah.
in. You were buying collections off eBay. Were you cleaning out your local stores? What were some other sources that you kind of had your eye on to start building this inventory with?
Now, I did buy some locally, but for the most part, it was still eBay. I did buy some collections through places like Craigslist. I would use all of Craigslist, and that would search, everything, and I'd get people to ship things to me.
Hmm.
I would buy things, people I used to meet on PokeGym. Um, Really, I mean, those were the main places that I bought the stuff off of. Uh, for me, creating that customer base was, and still is, my biggest asset for acquiring collections, because on a daily basis, I have so many collections that are offered to me. At this point, I pretty much, I just tell them exactly what I'm gonna pay, and if they don't want to sell it to me for that price, I've already probably got another 500,000 in just offers sitting out there, and I can't spend that daily, but really I just need the best of the best, that
Hmm.
will definitely make me money. That's what I'm gonna work off of. But it really started from, when I used to have over 200 orders I would send out a day, and most of it was just cards that were 99 cents to 5.99. I mean, it was like really cheap stuff. I wouldn't make much off of it, but it was gaining a big customer basis,
Mm.
and it was a lot of work. And only recently did I transition to selling mostly, just, well, pretty much all PSA cards, and then I sell raw cards, on a different site, Troll and Toad.
Right, right. You got to deal with them now, right? You kind of ship them over all your bulk, and they handle it for you. That's, I mean, was that an arduous process? What was that like to work with them? I don't have any seller accounts on the bigger stores like that, but is that an easy process? What was the deal with that? Are you able to share any information about that?
Yeah, I can share that. So I used to do a lot of buy list selling to them. This was more so when I had the actual physical storefront. People would come in with Magic, Pokemon, really anything at the time. Force of Will was big, and if I didn't know what it was in Magic or Force of Will, I didn't really want it. I would just look up the buy list on Troll and Toad, and they would bring me a card. And if Troll and Toad was paying $20, I'd be like, all right, I'll give you $15 for it. That was a quick $5 that I could make. And through that process, they ended up giving me like a dealer account where I actually get higher prices, but I don't qualify for the web credit kind of stuff. And then slowly that emerged into me selling them all my bulk, just because I couldn't handle all And then, that kind of turned into, hey, we're going to offer out, spots that people sell on our site. Would you like to do that? And so I tested it. First, I was categorizing everything myself and sending it to them. A lot of it was hand delivered.
Hmm.
When I decided to shut down the store, that was really nice because I bet I asked my parents, my mom and my dad, to take a dozen or more complete full carloads of just stuff that I had in the store that I would not have had room for here in my shop. So it was good in a couple different ways, and because I entered it all in, it got put into the process pretty quick. Um, Now I transitioned more into like a raw fulfillment kind of deal where they get paid an hourly rate and they do all the sorting themselves and they create the Excel files and or put it in my like Excel stock, and then it's really easy now because I created this long like little code based on the price of what their lowest price is versus my threshold for different prices. So I might have a million different sales in Excel, but I just put in that little code and I just drop it all the way down and it changes the prices, updates them. So my prices stay usually pretty competitive except for the items I want to slow sell. So honestly, I like it. I think it's a good setup. um, it they sell stuff that I'd never sell. Like otherwise, this stuff would just be sitting here. So
Hmm.
I'm fine paying them a good percentage just to handle all that because they recategorize the stuff for condition, which I've had some people have issues with that before. Like, hey, I heard you're really strict on grading. How come I bought this car from Troll and Toad under TCA Gaming and it wasn't near mint?
Hmm.
And I tell them it's not me actually doing the condition, but I completely understand why they regrade and put the condition label on themselves because they're actually accepting responsibility. If once it ships, I get paid. So
Right.
if a buyer has a problem with something, they're going to handle it. So they want to have that responsibility of actually specifying the condition of the card. So I completely understand it, but I also understand from the buyer side, they might think it's a different class of grade because my name that was attached to it and maybe past business they had on my eBay.
Right, of course, and that makes sense. So you're an early adapter basically to that offering, I guess, on their end, and you've been able to fall into it pretty nicely with the, I guess, vast quantity of your inventory. Um, Now, I don't know how open you will be, but I'm curious to know when you were doing full time in the first few years of Pokemon, what was the income like? What were the numbers like? Are you comfortable with sharing any of that?
Well, it wasn't too bad. The first 6 months or so, I kind of bounced back and forth between my parents' house and my girlfriend's place, and after that, we actually moved into an apartment. But I don't remember making a ton of money, but I don't ever remember needing money either. I've
Hmm.
never really had an issue with, you know, if I cleared $1,000 a month, I could live off of that no problem. Because I mean, everything's cheap around here. I did rent for a little bit, but by 2014 or 2015, we owned our home. We went and bought a foreclosure. It's a double wide. It's got 2.5 acres. It's over 2,000 square feet. We bought it for $36,000, and then I
Wow.
put about 25 grand into it, remodeling the roof and figure. I mean, because me, my brother, and my father-in-law, we were all figuring this out on our own. I mean, we did the floors in a 2,000 square foot house for it was like $1,000. I mean, it was like super cheap, 50 cents a square foot. We redid the windows. I mean, this place. I mean, it was a foreclosure for a reason. But in the end, it was maybe 60 grand that was put into everything, and it was a livable home over 2,000 square foot, and we had land, so it was really nice, and we didn't have to worry about paying that rent over and over again. But that was solely funded from the job that I had, or
Right, from
from
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Right, right.
And also in the very beginning, I mean, my wife did work until we had our first child, but well, I mean, we didn't really need a whole lot of that. That mostly went towards like her school loans and different stuff like that. So I mean,
Hmm.
there were times where we might have been tight, but honestly, I never felt worried about anything. I mean,
Yeah,
in worst case scenario, if we'd lost everything in Pokemon, I mean, I could have easily went and worked somewhere else. I've never really had like trouble getting a job just because of the work ethic. And
yeah.
I think a lot of people don't strive or don't want to clean up. Like I have no problem cleaning toilets or cleaning out trash, shoveling poop, whatever you got to do. I mean, you do what you got to for your family. And at the end of the day, you can go home, take a shower, and just be happy that you're not in debt.
Yeah. What was the original plan, to be a teacher?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What specifically did you want to teach?
I was going to teach high school calculus.
Oh, wow. Okay. So smart with numbers, smart with books. You can take a foreclosed house and build it into a beautiful living home. What can't you do? I mean, that's
I don't know
incredible.
how beautiful it is. There's some things that I can tell it was an amateur who did it, but like
Hey,
when I did the ceiling fans, I didn't drop them down. I just mounted them sideways, like at an angle straight to the ceiling, in which they're still fine because it's only a slight angle, but in time, the ball bearings they're going to wear out.
hey, it's more than I think I could handle. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's one thing that people don't understand. I mean, even to myself to an extent, I came into the hobby in like 2015, 16, and now everyone coming into it now that expect to have just like instant returns and instant gratification from buying Pokemon cards, they don't see the years and years of work that you've put in, that work ethic, the years that I've put in even to build a brand and do what I'm able to do, which is nowhere near your capabilities, but yeah, that work
Well,
ethic. Yeah,
in the beginning, I was probably putting in 12 to 15 hours, 6 days a week. So I mean, it wasn't, you just wake up in the morning and you expect, things to happen for you. I mean, you really had to go after it. I mean, there were many hours that I probably worked for pennies on the hour because I was listing cards for 99 cents. They were played condition. They were probably never going to sell, but you just got to put it out there and, just hope that, if you put enough stuff out there, it's going to sell and you're going to gain customers.
right.
Because you're right. I mean, you got to put in a lot of time there in the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Like, I quit my job and I'm putting in all these hours to record podcasts, do editing, do all this stuff, and my ad revenue is $1 a day. Like I'm not I'm not making the money that I was doing when I was working a 9 to 5. So it's
Yeah.
it's not a glamorous thing at all, and it takes a lot of tedious work, but hopefully it pays out. I mean, clearly it's done well for you. It's done well for me, but I'm hoping to continue expanding it and get on your level at some point. But one thing I really want to see if I can get out of you, because it's been just on my mind like since the day I found out who TCA Gaming was. With your early involvement in buying and selling Pokemon, you've put out videos and have come across some one of a kind items from Pokemon. The prototype Jungle Blister Pack with Jolteon on the front that said,
Look at that.
chase the rare Pikachu that was probably the first edition Ivy Pikachu in the scheme of things. The legendary collection starter decks that were named. What were they named?
Champions, and there was you got magma and storm instead of lava and turmoil.
Yep. And then, I mean, what else? The FPO cards, the uncut sheets. How did you come across this stuff? I mean, there had to be some sort of relationship or attachment to ex-WotC employees. Am I wrong?
So
Uh,
you're right. Um, the match prints, FPOs, the legendary test sheets, um, the Jungle Mock Pack, the Neo Destiny Mock Pack, all of those actually come from a designer. And um, I got in contact with him somehow because I don't know what I was searching. I got lucky and I saw that he had listed 5 FPO cards. It was like 2 Charizards, a Blastoise. I can't remember what the other 2 were. And he listed them for $59.99 on eBay. I snapped it up immediately. And I went and looked at his eBay page and I saw that he had magic items. He just sold me a Pokemon item and he had Dungeons and Dragons. Usually, if you see those 3 items, it's a WotC employee. So I reached out to him and asked him if he had other stuff. I asked him if he was a Wizards Coast employee. If he was, I wasn't going to say anything. And next thing I know, he's like, "Yep." And he starts emailing me. He sends me a text message, and he's sending me pictures of stacks of all this stuff, the FPOs, the legend, the test packs themselves that were sealed. He sold me probably a dozen sealed E3 Pikachu's, demo packs. He had a stack of the Neo Revelation Square Hollows. That's where it was 6 and 7 of each one of them, include the Shinings. He had a stack of Neo Discovery Hollows, or Neo Discovery, not Hollows, but Square Cuts, but it was commons.
hmm.
And I mean, he just had like a box of like nothing but Wizard of the Coast promos, like the Recycle Energies, the Suicune 53s. I mean, it was just a huge box. It was like a 12 by 12 by 12. And he's like, "Yeah, we'd look at a card, we'd compare for design, and then we'd throw it in a box." And then, I just kept that box after all these years and he sold it to me. But he sold me stuff on the Magic side too that was like test stuff. Like he had his portfolio. It was 12 different display sheets where he'd put on like uncut boxes for Magic and booster packs and all kinds of different things. And I sold that a while back. He had the Exodus foil test sheets,
Mm-hmm.
and he sold me those for like $1,000, and I immediately flipped it for $2,000. But the guy that I sold it to, like within 5 minutes of me selling it to him, I had someone like pinging me like crazy on Facebook, and he said, "Man, don't sell it yet. Don't sell it. I'll offer you 10 grand a piece for those sheets." And I mean, this was like 5 years ago. Back then, like that was crazy money.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I didn't realize how rare that was. And since then, he's actually sold me stuff like old Wizards of the Coast go-kart trophies and lunch boxes. I've even bought his clothes and his mugs and different things like that, because I think anything related to the old Wizards of the Coast employees is, kind of unique and cool to have. It's just kind of cool to see. But, it's the same with some of the other stuff too, like the Magic the Gathering backside German cards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen those. That come from a print production manager. She had like 10 of the Dark Dragonite non-holographics. She had blanks. I mean, she had all kinds of stuff too. She's the one who told me the story about pre-release Raichu, which I'm not completely sure that everything she told me on the errors and the quantities and numbers is correct, because some of it doesn't actually add up. But she had a lot of really legit stuff. In fact, she was the one who told me that there was a first edition printing for the Shadowed base set, and I didn't believe that for the longest time until I got the first edition Shadowed common sheet that was printed for Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was just something that was just really unique that just popped up out of the blue, but it connected back to what she said, and that she actually had, full sets of the first edition Shadowed set, but I never got pictures.
Wow. So that's awesome. So what was your mindset then? Were you actively trying to find these WotC employees, or were they just like
Completely
Yeah.
It was completely accidental. Like the print production manager that got in contact with me, I was selling a red dot Blastoise, and I advertised it as a misprint and an error, whatever. I usually put misprint and error in the title because, they kind of get used in different ways. But she was like, "No, this isn't actually a misprint. It's an error," or the opposite of that, because this is what happened for the print machines, when the dots aligned. She went into some long technical email, and she wasn't even wanting to buy anything. I'm like, "Well, how do you know all this stuff?" And it just, that the conversation then just developed from there, and I got really lucky with it.
Wow, that's super cool, because I mean that's something that so many people still try to figure out and ask about, are getting these print numbers, getting all this information out about the history of how things were done, because we see so many errors, so many misprints that come out to be like. I just did a podcast that was released today with Professor Oak Cali with Mike. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a big Shadowless collector, right? And he's dived in deep into Shadowless and how it came to be and what the reasoning was. So, I mean, obviously we don't know because we don't have that information from those printing production managers, from those designers. But that's really cool. So you're still in contact with them? They still have a couple things they sell to you here and there? I mean, you've worked them down to their clothes, basically. So
yeah, every now and then I'll reach out to the guy, the designer, and he'll just have a random box of stuff that he'll sell me. I'm surprised that he's always pulling stuff out, because I thought I cleaned him out several times, but he actually told me he still meets with a lot of the old Wizards of the Coast employees. And so I kind of put feelers out here and there. I'm like, "Hey, this is what I'd offer for a pre-release Raichu. If you ever run across one of those," or I'll say stuff like, "Hey, if you can get me an uncut sheet, I'll give you a bounty of $500 per uncut sheet that you get me."
Okay.
And, it just kind of, I think it just plays maybe in the back of their mind. And every now and then, he'll pop up, say, "Hey, this is some stuff I have. Will you buy it?" I'll make him an offer, and then usually he takes it.
That's awesome. I might have to. We might have to get me in contact with these guys for a special podcast, just so I can get some more history out there. Not to take any deals, of course. I can't afford that stuff. But that's actually one of my goals here, is to really push the history of Pokemon, and getting in touch with those people would be very, very important to that history. So I might have to utilize you at some point when you're comfortable with sharing those contacts. But I mean, what drove you to want to buy this weird stuff? I mean, it's so niche, it's so difficult to put price points on stuff like that. How did you get comfortable buying all that? I mean, were you just in love with the history of it? Were you, I mean, you've been a seller your whole time here. I mean, um, are you are you in love with Pokemon? Are you a huge collector? Why did you buy that stuff?
Well, at first it was kind of like I wanted stuff that really no one else was already collecting. And when I got into uncut sheets, if you've been around that long, you know that there was somebody called Crazy Pokemon. I mean, he was really, I mean, it was exactly like that. It was like the uncut Pokemon sheet. I think that's what he called himself. But he was like really crazy into uncut sheets. And I remember I got a Neo Genesis uncut sheet, the common one, which was really common at the time. Those, I think it was like sports values or something. He'd sell them to you for like 20 bucks a piece. And when I got that first one, I didn't care that I only paid 20 bucks for it. It was just, it was so cool seeing a full sheet of uncut cards. Like there was really nothing else like it. And so I decided I was going to go for more of them, when I could. There was you still have to draw a line. When you need money, you're going to have to buy stuff so that you strictly resell it. And it took a while before I was ever to a point to where I could actually set back a lot of big items, into my collection. And it wasn't only recently, probably in the past 2 years, that I started setting back PSA cards.
Hmm.
Before then, it was just all raw condition stuff. And for me, the uncut sheets, as I continued to progress, in buying and selling, it was the stuff that I saw the least of. I never really did much in the trophies, so I can't speak much to that stuff. I mean, I know those are really rare, but the uncut sheets, to me, they were impressive. They told a lot of history. They were big. I really liked them. They appealed to me, and they were tough to find. I mean, you had to go onto all kinds of different sites to try to find those. And even then, they were pretty sporadic, other than the KB Toys ones and the Neo Genesis common.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's the struggle I'm having today is, when I first got in, I was able to be a collector. I had my 9 to 5, I had funds, and I had a budget to collect, and I was collecting. And then I hit the point where I wanted to do this full time, and now, got to pay to eat, got to pay to live, and I can't collect anymore. So that's a big struggle. I mean, I just started recently doing it full time, so hopefully I can grow to that point. But that's awesome that you're able to collect. I know you're making some pretty big historic purchases. You're breaking records with some of these items, like the PSA 10 Shadowless Charizard. I saw that Black Star Venusaur. There's a couple unique items that you've been paying up for, and it shows your true collector side that you're willing to get what you want for whatever it takes. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, how I mean, I think the last sale of a Shadowless Charizard before yours was what, in the 60, 70K range, and you went ahead and just threw out 100K. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah. In fact, I think it was even lower than that, unless it was a private sale. The last public sale that I know of was 25,000. There was one that went into auction for 39, and I don't think anyone bid on it. But like I know PWCC, like over 6 months ago, was like 25K, because that was a record when it came out, and everybody was making a big deal about it. But everything else had historic rises, and I was tired of waiting, because it was like every week that I waited was another $10,000 that I was going to have to pay up for this card. So, and to reveal the actual price, it was 105,000 and a PSA 9 Shadowless Charizard. So it wasn't
okay.
just the 100,000 flat that I paid for it. And there was one going in auction at that time. It ended in 70,000. We're at 70,000, but I was blocked, I think, because I communicated with the seller beforehand, and he knew that I was going to be a legit buyer. I was contacted by somebody who knew the guy who bought it, and it ended up being a scam. So it didn't actually happen, because the person who they reached it back out to me like, oh yeah, well it fell through, and I ended up selling it to him in person for $80,000, and from what I was told, that didn't actually happen. So I don't know how legit that sale was, but I was willing to go ahead and pay up for it, because it wasn't worth the risk to me to keep waiting,
Hmm.
and to potentially, I mean, who knows, where it would be now? Because I think even the first edition Charizard at the time was about 200, 225, maybe.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's up to 300 now. It's at what, 296 from the last
Hmm.
auction,
Yeah.
and this is when Pokemon is technically supposed to be going down right now, and that card still went up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the select few have been rising still, and yeah, I know of a recent private Shadowless box sale. So I think that $100,000 price point is going to be a thing of the past pretty soon if anyone decides to let one go here in the near future. So, good job on that. Congratulations on that purchase, on that pickup.
Well, it may have been overpaying at the time. I don't really know, but I do know that it was going into my collection,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't plan to sell it for a long time. So I compared it to now versus then. There still should be some margin, and I think that's what you got to focus on a lot of times when you're buying and selling.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking a lot now. In the past 2 years, you've been able to set aside stuff for your personal collection. I mean, we've seen some awesome videos of yours on YouTube of what you're putting aside. But if people remember and followed you for a while, I don't know the exact time frame. Was it 3 or 4 years ago? You posted about a 10-piece video on YouTube of selling my collection $500,000.
Yep.
When was that? That was 2000.
I think it was 2016-ish.
Yeah. Why? What was going on? Why were you looking to sell? You had all your uncut sheets there. You had a complete binder set of everything. You had your crazy FPOs, your entire box collection, one of each. I'm sure you had a couple extras on the side, but what was going
Well,
on?
at the time, it was more of a like it was complete. Like I had completed the box collection, from what I remember, anyways, and I had all the single cards. Like I said, I wasn't really big into PSA at all at that time, and so I told myself, if I can get $500,000 for this, you know what, I'll sell it. I'll sell this collection because I think that I could reinvest that $500,000 back into the hobby much better than me just sitting on this stuff for that long. And I'm really glad nobody took me up on that offer. I think at the time I valued the stuff around $250,000.
Hmm.
So like I said, I told myself with $500,000, I'm pretty sure that I could make money on that $500,000 much more quickly than the value of that $250,000, would appreciate. But like I said, hindsight, I'm glad that it didn't sell because a lot of that stuff, I mean, it's just the base boxes alone are worth more than that.
Right. So you had full intentions of just reinvesting back into the hobby. It wasn't like I'm done with Pokemon. This was fun. I'm going to take my profits and do something else.
Right. I plan on just going back into it. I mean, because I don't really have a use for like at that time I didn't have a use for that unless I invested in real estate. And honestly, we've got one rental in this past year. We tried working on, and it is nice, but it's nothing compared to Pokemon. And I think that's more of a knowledge and learning type thing. Like I'm not a master of real estate. I don't know all the ins and outs, how to make money there. But with Pokemon, I mean, you can about make money with anything as long as you know what you're doing.
Right. Well, real estate is what 70% of the world's millionaires or something like that. So seems to be a proven investment. And once you figure that one
Yeah.
out, you can make that work. But yeah, it's just like anything. You got to take the growing pains and the learning pains before you start to see the ROI and all the, I guess, the gratification from it. So I'm sure you'll get there and have plenty more rental properties in the near future. So I remember, I actually think I sold you like one of the last pieces of the complete box collection, which was the single country code Gym Challenge Unlimited box.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one had the corrected print run of Charizard and Rocket's Minefield. Because I remember seeing that video. I was like, oh, he doesn't have this box, and I had a couple of them, so I I sold one to you. But yeah, I mean, did you ever get any decent offers back then for that?
I'm trying to remember. I think Scott reached out to me one time, wanting to buy all the boxes, but at that time I'd already pulled it back off of eBay because I'd put all of just the boxes, not the entire collection, on eBay for like $250,000 or something. And then I would just like slowly raise it, and then I pulled it all together.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't think I really got anybody who made a serious offer on it. I mean, there may have been some people who claimed they did, but I don't remember anybody who actually made an offer that stuck around to work it out. Like I've had somebody offer $750,000 on that Yu-Gi-Oh listing where I'm doing the boxes, the uncut sheet, and the PSA 10 set, but I'm pretty sure it was just a joke. And they were just because everybody that I've talked to in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, man, they're like, they'll eat you alive, dude. They're just harsh.
It's worse than Pokemon.
Yeah.
We've got
I
some.
feel like that should be like, you're a douche, man. Did you put too many zeros on there?
Oh my god,
It's like,
that's.
really, I do it so I can keep my. Right now, I'm doing it so that I can keep my limits a little higher because I had a lot. I had a sharp drop off after uh, the big sale that I had from Pokemon Palooza, and I just want to make sure that the limits stay up because sometimes I bring in high end consignment stuff, and I just want to make sure that it stays there.
What was that Pokemon Palooza thing about? Because you sold that funky first edition or the Shadowless sheet, didn't you?
Right.
So was
Well, what happened was eBay reached out to me. They were putting together an event where they wanted to feature Pokemon product on their homepage, and I actually have a contract with eBay, and there are a lot of really good benefits to that. But basically, I work with them to help promote the collectible card games on Pokemon. In fact, that's what we're going to be testing. As soon as I get off this video with some person that works at eBay, we're doing another event like a dealer Q&A, but. I supplied a bunch of high end items just to kind of hype up, and it was a good time. It was going to be, before the Thanksgiving uh, area, and that's why PWCC. I mean, they ran it too. They were putting in a lot of really big high end items, but their stuff is, miles ahead of my stuff. But I wanted to put in a few unique things that I hadn't seen go in a while because I have people offer me corrected Charizards, and the last person offered it to me, I offered him $4,000, and he was like, "Yeah, I think it's worth about 20." And I told myself, you know what, maybe it'd be worth 10 or so, but there hadn't been a sale, and then mine ended up going for like $4,500, which I do believe is low, but when you're buying stuff, you have to, you know, assess the risk versus reward and what you're actually going to get if you had to sell it at that moment,
mm-hmm.
especially if you're only doing it for business, not just for your collection. So that's why I put a cart, like I put that up, and I put the uncut sheet up because up to that point, I don't think any uncut sheet has went that much publicly, but I was still expecting a lot more. In fact, I got so many people who come to me after the sheet sold and said, "Hey, I will beat that offer by quite a bit more if the buyer doesn't pay." But the buyer did pay, and it shipped. I feel sad. I'd love to have it back for that price, but you know, there's a give and take also in this collecting. I mean, I remember times when I win an auction for a super good deal. You almost feel bad for the seller, but you're really excited, as a collector yourself. So, I mean, I think, we all have to, learn sometimes, when you put stuff through auction, you're going to be giving somebody else a good deal, but be happy for that person too. And just know that I still made money on it. I mean, I didn't pay $30,000 for it. I bought it way low. I think I bought it for like 1,600 bucks or something like that. So it was still
Mm-hmm.
a huge margin, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of it by being able to hold it for so long.
Right, it helps build the community as well. I mean, we saw Gary sell some of his first edition PSA 10 Charizards and the pain it took
Yeah.
for him to sell those, but it really helped boost the community as a whole. So, I mean, that's something that you've done for everybody is the amount of information that you've been able to put out, especially with these unique items. I mean, yeah, even though, like you said, if you put it up for auction, you won't get that realized price because you can't wait around for that one person in the world to offer you whatever number that you truly think it's worth. Um, yeah, all this information that you've put out has just been so important to the hobby. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have been in it as long as you or have dealt with as much as you have, but either have signed contracts or for whatever reason withhold that information for for themselves. And you've been very very open about it and willing to share with everybody how these things come about. So, I mean, that's just a huge piece of you're a pillar of Pokemon collecting. So it's pretty cool that you're still in it. You're still bigger than ever and growing like crazy. I mean, what was your? I mean, you mentioned Scott's name. You've mentioned, we've talked about Gary a little bit. What's your connection like with some of these guys in the past? Did you buy and sell sheets to Gary or from Gary? How, who was the one that kind of started the whole sheet game in Pokemon?
I'm not really sure who started it. When I got into it, Gary had sheets and Crazy Pokemon had sheets,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I really like them. There was other people who had them too, but I've done a lot of I have done deals with Gary before. He sold me a Gaia and Trihorn Dragon Secret Rare Yu-Gi-Oh sheet. He sold me one of the Mewtwo sheets. He sold me 1999 2000 base set,
Mm-hmm.
common, uncommon, and rare sheets. He sold me some other stuff too, and with Scott, I've done some business with him as well. Not a ton because he's more on the Japanese side, I think. But we have done some business. I bought some Japanese cards off of him that were like mid tier, like just like it wasn't bulk, but it wasn't like $100, $200 cards in there. But it was just like a bunch of just extra stuff. A lot of that ended up getting sold to Troll and Toad, and he's even mentioned buying some of that stuff back off of Troll and Toad. So it's kind of going full circle. But some of the people that I work with most closely in the hobby are Charlie with Ludkins. You know, I think he's a great guy. Anytime you can do business with him, just go for it. I mean, even if he's more, you just go for it. Most likely he won't, but he's definitely a good person to have in the hobby. And Zach, I work with him, you know, a ton. Jim at Pokemon. He's always stuff. Yeah, in fact, he set me up now, I believe, with some more WB promos, a 1,800 quantity of those sealed. So, and he's helping me get it for a decent price too. So, I plan to give him some kickback on that because he's getting it probably for much less than what I would even have offered, you know, straight out, you know, from the get go. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people in the hobby like that. Honestly, I mean, they've really helped me out, and I've had the opportunity to work with them in the past. PokeRadar, man, he's coming up quick. He's got a lot going on for him. I think he's going to be humongous.
I've got him coming on Saturday. So I got Jim, I got Zach tomorrow, and I got Nick on Saturday. I've actually well, I had them on in the past when I first started this thing, just kind of out of the blue. But now that I'm doing it a little bit more consistently, I'm trying to get them back on. So I've been lucky enough to be connected with some of these guys too. You know, I've built some relationships with Zach early on. He was the first person that I found on YouTube, the first person that I contacted basically when I started collecting and reselling, and he was so informative, so helpful with that, and you know, quickly started getting in touch with Cool Trainer Ryan, and who speaks very highly of you, by the way. I had him on, and
he's a good
guy. You're his idol. So in case he hasn't told you that in person, you're his idol. But it's really cool to really start connecting these pieces of everybody together, and how we've all come to be to you know, create this community. You know, from a collection side on your end, what are your goals right now?
Well, I do have a PSA 10 want list that I'm working on. That's what I'm trying to focus on hard. I'm still always looking for uncut sheets. I mean, it's almost downhill now that I got the first edition base set shadowless sheet, because that one was the hardest one to. I mean, I thought I would never acquire that, and it just kind of fell into my lap from another employee, and that's actually probably the most money I've ever spent on anything. And I basically just threw out a big number because I wanted to have it, and I knew it was going to slip away if I didn't get it. But I'm still working on uncut sheets. I've got a base set hollow sheet that I'm working on that's actually Cosmos. Oh. So it's English, it's Cosmos. And so I thought that was really cool. And last I talked to the guy, he said it was a deal, you know, what I'd offered to him for it. But who knows? I might not get it. And sometimes these deals just kind of just fall through. But I hope if I get that one, you'll see pictures of that on Instagram or, you know, wherever else.
What do you think the history with that is? Do you think it was like a leftover Cosmo hollow sheet from like a Machamp starter deck that had all the other hollows printed on it?
It's hard to say because I believe the Machamp, I mean, that was from the base set 2 starter decks, like the J-Hook ones or whatever. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that should have been around the same time as the base set 2 printing. And I thought maybe it was just a base set 2 sheet without the 2 symbol on it, but there's no Wigglytuffs and cards like that. Then I thought maybe, you know, it was just an English print for something that they were trying to do instead of like a non, like it was supposed to be non-English, but it ended up being an English Pokemon card sheet. I'm not really sure on it, but what's cool is it actually says across the top, Cosmos test foil. So Cosmos, as long as someone didn't handwrite that, which I don't think this guy did because he didn't even know what it was, then Cosmos is a term that, you know, that Pokemon had, and it actually says test. It's just like Cosmos test foil. So I found that to be unique, but I haven't had a chance to examine the entire sheet altogether. But, you know, if it's legit and if I can get it in my hands, just another variation to add to the collection. So I'm always looking to add more. Mm-hmm. I'd love to get back the shadowless sheet that I sold years back. It was actually to somebody on IG. I sold it for like $15,000 at the time. I mean, I believe that was the price of a first edition PSA 10 Charizard. So I mean, it was big money. but I wish I had it back now because I've got the first edition. If I get the Cosmos, I mean that'd be really cool. But I've got a regular base set sheet with the Charizards on it, but it has upside down backsides. And then I have like a PCD deck. I've got the Machamp. I'd love to have just like one of all the different prints that there were, then to get them framed, and maybe ultimately one day to have a place where this stuff can be displayed. Just, I mean, the kind of security and the location, the constant worry of having it somewhere else, that to me would probably be more than I could think of how to do it right now at the moment. But
Those are
PSA
the
10 cards and cut sheets, really
okay.
my goals.
Yeah, those are the museum pieces right there.
Yeah.
Those uncut sheets. Um, so, I mean, speaking of the sheets, have you taken down or try to investigate all the information that's provided on those things to understand some of the design decisions better? Like this designer that you have contact with, does he know the reasoning of the change from shadowless to shadowed? Have you asked him?
He come in a little bit later.
Mm,
From what I understand, he wasn't a part of the design process of that jungle mock pack. That was just something that he picked up. He come in closer to like the e-reader era, about the time that they were transitioning, which is why he had a lot of that FPO stuff. But I mean, really, I mean, I can still take questions to him because I'm still in contact with this guy. A lot of the other ones I'm not really in contact with, like a felon, like I've just lost their contact information somehow along the way. Like I still have their old stuff, but they don't respond to it. But um, I've asked him stuff along those lines before, and he doesn't really seem to know. But like the person I bought the first edition base set uncut sheet off of, I guess I could talk to her. Maybe she has some information on it because she actually got that as a gift directly from the VP. So even if she didn't know, maybe she would have a contact, that would possibly know some of the information.
hmm Wow, wow, that's really interesting. I don't know who else. I mean, I talking to Ryan, he had decent connections with some old distributors, but never WotC employees. And I know some of these other guys like Scott and maybe Charlie have talked to them as well. But it seems like you're the connection to make this happen, to make the true Pokemon card documentary happen. So save those contacts,
I
please.
know a few,
Yeah.
but I don't know a ton.
Well, it'll grow. Each connection will continue to help carry the pieces along. So, um, I mean, now that things are really going super well for you. I mean, I know for the majority of us, anyone involved in Pokemon is doing quite well. Have you ever had another thought of opening up another store, a brick and mortar store, or is that just never again?
Well, I enjoyed it. Like it was fun. It was just a lot of time dedication that it took. Like it was always you had to be there every single morning, and you had to basically stay till close. And we did trust the place with employees at times, but it really didn't work out the way I thought it would. I mean, maybe it's just because I have a different expectation of motivation, like wanting to always go and to do better, and what's the next thing that you want to get to. It was just kind of like they were happy with the way everything was all the time. And for Pokemon and for this kind of stuff, like I always wanted to have it to grow for the customers and to do better and to kind of like change things up. And for me, that experience, it wasn't as like I couldn't grow my collection the way I wanted to. It was almost like a stale time for that part of my Pokemon experience. 2016, 2018. That's about when I had the the store. It was mid to late 2016 to early 2018. And I didn't really do a ton of growing. In fact, that's even when I put up the collection for $500,000 because I wasn't actively like buying old Wizards of the Coast product. I mean, there were times where I couldn't even tell you how much a Jungle booster box was worth. I could tell you what it was worth back
Hmm
before Pokemon Go, but I couldn't really tell you too much what it was afterwards. I mean, I had somebody bring in. He had a Blue Eyes White Dragon first edition PSA 10. He had a Red Eyes Dark Magician, or not a Red Eyes Black Dragon and a Dark Magician. Sorry, I put those together. But he also had a Crystal Charizard. He had a Gold Star Charizard, and there was one other Charizard that he had. But all these were PSA 10. Offered it to me or to one of my employees for $1,400, and he wouldn't go above $1,100. And so the
Wow.
guy ended up not taking it and went and sold it to another store. And I come in the next day and I'm just like, can you imagine now, all those items, just the blue eyes is, I mean, what was the last sale on that thing? Like 50K or something
Something
crazy
like
like that.
that. Yeah.
Or wavy was first, but it was a wavy.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's pretty much, even if you don't think that one was first, it's still almost always going to bring more, online.
Right. No, I
So
mean,
it was just stuff like that. Sometimes it's like missed opportunities.
yeah. Well, that's the beauty of a store. The things that walk in are, it's incredible. The stories that's where I've positioned myself well with during this whole thing since I started was building relationships with store owners or past store owners. And I mean, I could tell you the stuff that walks in and the stuff that they pay for it is just stupid because people walk in not knowing what they have and they're able to, I mean, they take advantage of it when they can and make money. But I mean, my store guy in California in 2018, I met him in 2019, but in 2018, some dude was getting his hair cut across the street, um, was about to donate these Pokemon boxes that his late friend left to him to a local Goodwill. But because he happened to see his card store, he walked in to see what they were worth. He had about 20 cases of Pokemon or Magic boxes. I mean, one Green Wing case, 4 or 5 base set cases, three base set 2 cases, 4 first edition Gym Challenge cases, and then like all Urza Saga stuff from Magic cases. And they were sealed, and they had written dollar signs on them and Pokemon or Magic. And they opened all the cases just to make sure the stuff was in there, and paid maybe $500 a box. And at the time, they were 15 to 2,000 a box, whatever it was in 2018. But it's crazy what can walk into a store.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you're losing a lot of time and probably a lot of money at that point opening up another store. But maybe one day when you have fun money, you can just have a store for the heck of it and get some
Yeah.
interesting things to come in.
Well, it was a lot like per month because after you get 3 employees, you got to get like different types of insurances, and it ended up being about a $10,000 cost a month just to have the store open, and rent was only $1,200.
Oh
There's
wow.
just all this other stuff that added up. So I figured I could build a place. That's what like I built this shop here, and it cost $27,000 to build, but it's 1,200 square foot and it's stick built, and it's right beside my house. Put a
Hmm.
hole in the side of my bedroom, put a door in it, and now I just walk directly out of my bedroom into my shop in the morning. That's all it takes.
Is TCA Gaming up on Google? Can people go see the shop? Okay.
If you look it up, it'll show the old shop that we used to have.
All right. Well,
But it
cool.
should say permanently closed.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I mean, what else? I mean, I kind of hit all the main topics I wanted to hit. Um, so I don't know if this is appropriate to ask, but what's your collection worth?
Man, I don't even know.
I mean, you don't. You seem to keep pretty good tabs of Excel and all that stuff, right? Of your purchases and whatnot. Do you not update your current values?
Well, some of that stuff I do, but
Hmm.
I've got these tubs that I keep on, like just the standard black white or shelves you can get shelves you can get at Walmart. Pay like $50. They're like 2 foot by 3 foot, and there's like 5 tiers. But I put them in these big tubs, and what I try to do is, if it's not a part of like my normal just list that I want for like PSA 10 sets and stuff, I just whenever I buy it and I don't want to sell it, I just put it in a box and I try to forget about it.
Hmm.
Like that's for me. If I can forget about it, then next time I go through that box, looking for something else because I know I have it somewhere, I can relive, that nostalgic feeling like, oh man, I forgot I had this. Man, this is really cool. I'm glad that I kept it. Because a lot of times when I buy stuff, I mean, it's for the same price that everyone else is paying. I'm just buying it off of eBay, and I think it's a good deal for what it is, but I couldn't necessarily resell it for more today or tomorrow. So I just set it back and I wait for the market to catch up, and that's when I try to capitalize on the margin. But I really couldn't tell you because a lot of that stuff I don't keep up with, and there's a large majority of my collection that's errors
Hmm.
and also uncut sheets, which don't have a market really. It's just stuff that I've kept over the years. I mean, there are some errors that do, but a lot of the stuff that I have is just one offs or stuff that I pull out of a pack or things that people find like, hey man, what do you give me for this? And I just make them an offer based on what I think it's worth.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, that's a very important thing. I've been dealing in the higher end Japanese trophy market lately, and people ridicule me a lot for buying and flipping those things, but I just enjoy being able to handle it for a little bit, right? But picking
Yeah.
out prices for that stuff, because there's not a lot of price history, is a tough thing to do. So, yeah, it just comes down to what someone's willing to pay for it, really, at that point in time. So, now that things are blown up for you, you're going crazy. Do you have any full time employees? What's your daily activity like now?
So normally I get up about 6:45 or so, and I'll come over. I'll read my Bible and I'll pray, and then jump online. I answer questions for about an hour. When I'm done answering questions, it normally doesn't take me but maybe 10-15 minutes to print off all the labels for my shipments
Hmm.
and to gather that stuff up. And then I set it on another table where my wife, after she takes their daughters to school, she'll come and do shipping about 8 o'clock or so, and then usually it's done by 8:30. And everything else that I work on is like I might go on IG and answer questions on there, or I'll go on to Troll and Toad and I'll restock anything that ran out of stock. But I do have one person that comes over here and works now. It's my friend's wife. She'll come in and basically she just sorts through all my bulk and the bulk that I don't send to Troll and Toad. So like the near mint stuff that um, basically I get from collections or well, not even the near mint, the pack fresh stuff that I open up in YouTube videos. If I don't send it off to PSA, then I just put it in a box and I wait until I feel like PSA is going to be more confident. And when I feel like they're more confident, they're going to get another, order of 10 or 20,000 cards all at once, and I'll just send it there and they'll take care of it. But right now I've got so much stuff there and I've received maybe 2 or 3 bulk orders back since May. And I've sent out at least one bulk order of over 200 cards every single week for over a year. And it's just like nothing is coming back right now.
Hmm.
I even recently sent off almost 10,000 cards all at once. And now I'm almost kind of regretting that because I don't know when I'm going to ever see those.
Right, and
But,
what the market's going to look like when you receive them because of
yeah.
all the current activity. But Rusty, man, I want to thank you for your time so much. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this with me, and more so just the history and information that you've provided to everybody in the community. You're a great role model for somebody that not just in the Pokemon world, but just life in general. You know, myself, I'm not a very religious person myself anymore. I've lost my faith a bit, but seeing how well connected you are with your family, with your community, with the Pokemon community, and the good things that you do. I always catch those little things in your YouTube videos. You mentioned you'll mention every now and then. On Sunday, I was with my kids doing some church activities and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I grew up with and try to bring to the Pokemon world is that community aspect where we help one another out and help each other complete their goals or help each other with business or whatever the case might be. So, I see a lot of that from you, the little snippets in the videos that some people might not see. So that's something that I want to thank you for being such a great role model for everybody here. And keep doing you, man. Keep doing you.
I appreciate all the kind words. I mean, I'm just a guy. Anybody else could be sitting right here. I just got lucky along the way, and I've been truly blessed. I mean, I really have. And I hope that there's going to be plenty of other people along the way who get to see the same things that I have. We just continue to pull more stuff out of these basements and where these cool, unique items have been sitting because somebody saved them. They pulled them from a shredder or whatever. But there's plenty more people out there, and again, I appreciate the kind words. I don't feel like it's well deserved, but
Oh,
I think
it is. It is. But thank you guys for watching. If you don't know, here's Rusty's Instagram, officialTCAGaming, and of course his YouTube, TCA Gaming as well. I believe it's the same on eBay, TCA Gaming. Is that correct?
yeah.
If you wanna buy something or find something cool, go to Rusty, and you'll be amazed. So thanks again, and everybody, make sure you share this and get Rusty's story out there. So have a good one.